I never sat in a bus growing up, never stood in a line, never saw the inside of an auto. I was that guy. Golden spoon? Forget spoon. I had the whole dining set. My school tiffin had imported chocolate spreads before they were cool. Our house had an elevator before Bangalore had traffic. And vacations, if the flight didn't have a flatbed, it was just so basic. But somewhere along the way, that golden spoon, it got shoved down my throat. I'm not here to tell you a rags to riches story. I'm here to tell you a riches to a rubble to a real life story. Because one day, just like that, everything collapsed. My father, the man who built our empire from nothing, forgot how to sign his name. My company, inherited with pride, came loaded with betrayal. My bank balance, negative. My dignity on EMI. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, I had to sell sand on the streets of Bangalore to pay my son's school fees. 6 days, 2 truckloads, one little boy who just wanted to go to class. I'm here because I survived, not with hacks and not just with Harvard degrees, but with scraped knees, cracked pride, and a broken piggy bank. This is not a story about downfall. It's about what happens when the world says, you're done, and you whisper back, not yet. You know those men who don't talk too much, but when they walk into a room, something shifts? That was my father. They called him a tiger, not because he rode, but because he built an empire with his bare hands and still never raised his voice. He grew up in a house with 40 children under one roof, 2 rooms, no space, no silence. From selling mud dolls on the streets of Kolkata with my grandfather to India's first steel bucket. That was his leap, and I was born in the landing. He didn't just build businesses, he built people. My uncle's education, my dad paid for it. The temple in Domlur, my dad helped build it. He used to say, we are servants of the company, not owners. Never confuse the two. We had no personal wealth, no mutual funds. Everything was pledged. But our name, that was unpledged, untouched. I remember when I came back from the US, my dad didn't hand me a cabin. He handed me a shovel. First job, loading and unloading trucks. Hot steel on my back, gunny bag on my shoulders. Lunch with the labor, no shortcuts, no surname discounts. He would ask me, you want to run a company? You better learn first how to respect the hands that built it. Then came the fall. My father, the man who could run 5 factories in his sleep, had forgotten how if he had eaten. He'd play the same song twice and forget the lyrics. His signature began to change. His eyes had the same fire, but his brain was slowly dimming. We thought it was stress. Turns out, it was Alzheimer's. And from that day on, the tiger became my cub, and I his reluctant keeper. You think life breaks you when you're poor? No, I don't think so. Life breaks you when you had everything and still watch it disappear like smoke in your hands. They say betrayal feels like a stab in the back. I wish. In my case, betrayal felt like a slow leak. I couldn't see it, but I could just smell something's off. And by the time I realized, I was already chest deep in debt. My father's own brother, the one he raised like a son, took his power of attorney one day and transferred our land to his name. He didn't just cheat us, he billed us for it at twice the actual value. They broke the windows in our home, they ripped out our flooring, took the old furniture, left us with a shell. A haunted house, except the ghost still had our name. And I hadn't even started fighting the bankers yet. Imagine this. You're 24, you walk into a bank with the debt the size of a city. Your hairline is retreating. You look like a deer in a suit, and the banker says, "What do you know about business?" And you say, "Well, nothing, sir, but I know this. I won't cheat you. I will pay you back. Just give me some time." He didn't laugh. He didn't believe me either. But I walked out of the bank that day with a promise to myself that I won't let 4 decades or 5 decades of my father's hard work go in vain. So I promised them to pay them back in full. Every paisa, every rupee. And so the circus began. Creditors outside my house, false cases, threats, gundas tracking my kids to school. I started hiding in malls, behind staircases, and yes, in movie theaters too. You know what rock bottom is? Watching the same movie 5 times a day because you're hiding from a man who wants his money back. During the interval, I'd slip into the toilet, come back out when the lights dimmed. Popcorn? No chance. Silence was my snack. One day, the power at home got cut. We'd rush to the bathroom before 6 p.m. because after that, no lights, no fan, no flush. We rationed food, we skipped rice. We lived on bread and hope. Hope and a very loyal driver who worked night shifts in an auto to keep us going. The golden spoon had melted, and we were stirring life with our bare hands. In the middle of this chaos, my son fell sick. He was 6, diagnosed with dermatomyositis, an autoimmune disorder that stiffens your muscles to an extent until you can't walk. He would crawl from the bed to the toilet. Some mornings, he couldn't even lift his head. To confirm the diagnosis, we needed a biopsy. Cost 33,000 rupees. We didn't have it. So my driver, the same man working two jobs, pawned his wife's jewelry and handed me the money. And when the biopsy was done, we asked my son what he wanted to eat. He said, chicken fried rice. Well, no. We didn't even have the 120 rupees to order it. So we came home, found his piggy bank, broke it. Loose change, crayon colored currency. It just got enough. I called a restaurant I knew, asked the owner if he could send food and let me pay later. He said yes. And when the food arrived, there was an extra chicken in the box. That piggy bank didn't just feed my son, it fed my belief that when you lead with love, the world sends help in strange, quiet ways. And it wasn't just the piggy bank. One week, my son's school sent us a notice. Pay his fees or he can't come back to school tomorrow. We needed 56,000 rupees. We had 0. What did we do? My driver and I sold sand. You heard that right. We sold sand. We borrowed a truck, drove around Bangalore, from Pina to Mysore Road, looking for construction sites. We shoveled all the extra sand around the sites ourselves, filled 2 truckloads in 6 days, and paid the school fees. I've done deals worth crores, but nothing felt more valuable than that receipt with my son's name and the word admitted stamped on it. That's when something shifted in me. The boy with the golden spoon finally learned how to feed others. And I promised myself, if I ever got out of this, I would give. Even if I had 10, I'd give 2. Because someone's whole life may depend on that packet of biscuits. By 2014, after nearly a decade of debt, begging, hiding, and holding it all together with sellotape, we finally went debt free. No banks to answer, no creditors at the door, just silence. And you think I felt victorious? No. All I felt was tired, tired and empty. I couldn't work, didn't want to, didn't know how to anymore. I actually started asking friends for a job. One of my so-called friends from IMAX offered me 50,000 rupees a month. Seriously, I couldn't even pay my son's school fees with that. The same man who once flew business class and chartered flights without blinking an eye was now comparing the prices on paracetamol strips. There was one moment, my mom was in the ICU with a heart issue. We had no money for a treatment. They said they had to put a stent in. All we could do is pray. By some miracle, they said she didn't need it. Great. But the bill, 2.5 lakhs. I had nothing. So I did what I knew best and what I'd mastered over so many years. I started rotating credit cards. Paid one card with another, another with another. Borrowed time, bought some oxygen. My father by then was fully bedridden. Alzheimer's had taken him from a lion to a man with blank eyes and a catheter. We had an ICU set up at home, but no money for medicines. The chemist, out of sheer respect, gave us medicines on credit for 3 long years. That's the cost of being a good human. He never took a rupee until the end. And then one day, my father stopped breathing after 14 years of his banvas. It was 12 days before my 40th birthday. The doctor asked me if I wanted to put him on a ventilator. And I looked at my mom with blank eyes, and my mom said one thing to me: don't let your greed supersede his pain. With no option left, we let him go. We watched the man who gave me everything return to the same silence he was born from. 12 days later, on what would have been my birthday, I wore the pagdi, a turban that says in our ritual that I am now the head of the family. But I really didn't feel like the head. All I felt was like a boy wearing his father's shoes. I prayed to God that day, just let me fill half his shoes, just half. Because he wasn't a man, he was a compass. Everything I know about ethics, kindness, loyalty, I learned from him. And every time I raise someone up today, he's the reason my hand even knows how and why. After he passed, I stopped celebrating my birthday. Still do. Not out of grief, but out of reverence. Because that day doesn't mark my birthday anymore. It marks the beginning of my responsibility. People ask me, how did you become the Honorary Consul of Namibia? Honestly, I dreamt about it when I was young, but I didn't chase it. It found me. Because when you spend your life lifting others, eventually the world notices. I wasn't trying to be a diplomat. I was just trying to be someone useful. Trying to be someone my father would be proud of, that when I held his hand and his fingers would twitch. Today we build schools, we plant trees, we donate dialysis machines, we do things that don't make Instagram but make impact. And all of it, every act of it, came from 10 long years of losing. We don't care much about brands. My kids don't care for luxury. As far as I am concerned, life has humbled me to an extreme, Kanjus Marwadi. So as to so much that when I go shopping with my mother, I still check the price of on rice packets out of habit. And every time I eat a plate full, I think of those nights we lit candles just to use the toilet. And we thank the strangers who fed us and clothed us when we didn't believe in ourselves. You don't need to hit rock bottom to find yourself. But if you do, dig and dig deep. You might find your values somewhere buried in the rubble. So if you're going through something right now, if you've lost money, health, hope, or direction, I won't give you any motivational quotes. I'll give you something that my mother gave me. Today is war. Fight like you're going to die. Live like you've never been dead before. I want to thank TEDx for giving me this time limit of 15 or 17 minutes. Otherwise, I think would be burning the midnight lamp going through this whole talk, this 10 grueling years of my experience. And before I leave, just one more thing. If you ever see a boy selling sand in a truck to pay school fees, help him, please. Because he may be standing on this stage one day telling you the story of how he rose from the ashes like a phoenix. Thank you.